Good afternoon and welcome to the Party Line Talk Show. I'm your host, Luann Stacy, and today is MCK Friday. And in studio with me is the Grand Chief Joe Norton. Welcome to the studio. How are you?
Pretty good.
Been a while.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about, and I guess probably the most important thing is something that's upcoming next Tuesday, August 15th, with regards to Bill 85, if I'm correct, and
Yes.
the lands for Highway 30.
Yes.
So if you want to explain to our community.
Well, there's two things at play here. One is the fact that a recent court judgment that was in our favor regarding the, we'll call it the return of lands, 500 acres, but that's been identified, another 211 acres. So it's over 700 acres altogether, which that was done way back in time. But the municipalities at the time jumped on this and basically took out a court injunction to prevent this transfer because they said it was unfair advantage, and all kinds of what I would consider bogus arguments, the same arguments we would use,
Exactly. If it was us the other way,
yeah,
right?
they took the arguments and they applied them to themselves. And this was this land transfer, if you will, or agreement. I think pretty much everybody's aware of it. It was a result of the extension of Highway 30 to Highway 15, and approximately 711 acres were taken up. So the government agreed that they would. The government of Quebec agreed that they would transfer that back to Kahnawake via the usual process that they use through the federal government. Acquisitions, transfers to reserves, ATR, as it's formally known as. So that's sort of the backgrounder to this. But in the meantime, we still had the much broader issue of the scenery lands,
Yes.
which covers a much larger area than that, and I think people have seen maps of it, and we've had discussions on it, meetings continuously over that. And it seemed like we were beginning to get closer to the possibility of really getting down to the nitty-gritty now and working out the relationship on that. In any event, the court case was successful. The announcement came down last week. There were some concerns we had that the court might decide to attach, certain things to it in terms of the powers of the municipal governments, and their tax base and things of that nature. But really, there's nothing that's functioning on that territory at this moment, on that 500 acres, and it's on the north side of Highway 30. It's contiguous, as they say,
Okay.
to the reserve, so it attaches right to Kahnawake territory. That was one thing, and then all of a sudden we had heard just recently that the infamous Bill 85, which was introduced as a draft bill sometime last year, I think it was. I don't have my dates clear in my mind, but and that was where the provincial government was talking about taking the very land that we're fighting for and arguing for as being our territory, and kind of converting it from agricultural to commercial to whatever, and then after that, designing and developing proposals for economic development on that particular piece of land. And just for discussion's sakes, it's like between Saint Constant and Chateauguay, there's a strip. When you get on Highway 30, when you get off 207, you go on Highway 30, and you go either east or west. You'll see it's all open, all open area, And there's we have our seniority grievance process that's been in place for a number of years. We're not calling it a claim, and the government of Canada has agreed that it's not a claim as normal claims go. As you would anywhere else in the country. They have a claims process, comprehensive as well as specific claims processes, which you usually try to fit you into. And this one, we said, no, this is a grievance we have because it's been long-standing. It's 400 years now we've been arguing about this, and we haven't relented. We've keep keep arguing and arguing, continuously from the French regime when the French first, if we call it, we allowed them to come in and live on our territory in exchange for rents and all kinds of various things of that nature. Then the British came in, they defeated the French. The British confirmed or reconfirmed that that's our territory and rents were still being paid, et cetera, et cetera. Then finally the Canadian regime came in. And during that time period, that's when they did away with the seigneuries, and all that stuff. They abolished them and they said it no longer applies in this day and age, so on and so forth. And there was no consultation with Kahnawake, or for that matter, anybody else in the, any other indigenous group, such as Kahnawake. Kahnawake finds itself in a similar situation, the scenery of Dumontang, I think it's called, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know their history as well as what we have here, but it's similar. In any event, we then, all this was done away with, but at the same time, we kept arguing. As far as we're concerned, the abolishment of the seigneury, the seigneuries was illegal without any kind of consultation with us. And the court has backed us up in terms of saying that, any further not encroachments, but any kind of discussions or any kind of negotiations on what is considered the seigneury lands, we have to be involved in it. They just can't unilaterally decide to go ahead and do what they want to do. And that's what they're doing. So we've put together position papers on that to the federal government, both the Prime Minister of Canada as well as the Minister of Native Affairs, Indigenous Affairs in Ottawa. And on the provincial side, we sent a letter to the Premier, outlining our objections, whatever. And first and foremost, our position is that's our territory. It's not yours. You have no right. It's illegal what you're doing. And that's what we've basically outlined in a position paper, which I have to sign off on. When I leave here.
As soon as you leave here.
As soon as I leave here, that'll go out and everybody will get to see it. It'll be on our website, so
It'll
on.
Be available for the community to see.
Be available for everybody to see. So that's sort of the background to all of this. There's some parts that are missing in here, but I guess as we go along, we'll be able to discuss them further, or they'll come out. So what we have decided is that on Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock, there will be a bus that will be available. Council members will be going in that bus, and we're inviting, the community to also be involved in that. We're going to go to Quebec City, and arrangements are being made right now to go to the National Assembly. Oh. And we're going to be holding a press conference on the steps of the National Assembly. We want as I guess as many people as we can get to be with us and to make our declaration. And then we're also at 6 o'clock in the evening, 6:30. I mean, the people don't have to stay there till 6:30. I think the bus is scheduled from 9:30 till 3 p.m. and then come back home. So, but I'll be going in with others to address the hearings that are taking place. It's starting August 15th and continues on to the 16th. And it's going to be to discuss the commercialization of that area. And my message is very clear. It's not yours. You cannot do this. It's illegal. And we'll use whatever means to prevent that, And I've made it very clear, this is something very similar to what happened during the Oka situation. Okay. That's how that started, when you had Kahnawake, the provincial government, federal government sitting at the table, negotiating, or discussing their particular circumstance and situation. And in the meantime, you had people from Kahnawake, Akwesasne, and Kahnawake who were occupying the pines. They weren't on the main road there. I think it's 344. They were in the pines. There's just a little road that runs in there, and they were in there defending and barricading that so that no equipment would come in, because this is what that started the whole thing. There was equipment that went in. They were cutting trees, and the the city of Oka was, or the parish of Oka was going to build condominiums, expand its golf course, all that stuff on sacred ground. You had burial sites there and everything, and so on and so forth. So we all know how that happened
went,
there.
yeah.
While they were negotiating, they got an injunction. They moved in to remove these people, and that started a whole string of events.
Okay,
Well, this is- yeah.
we'll take a little break and we'll come back because I have some questions
Yeah.
with regards to this.
Okay.
In case you're just joining us on the Party Line Talk Show, I'm your host, Len Stacy. In studio with me is the Grand Chief Joe Norton, and we're talking and discussing for MCK Friday Highway 30 lands and the Bill 85. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Party Line Talk Show. I'm your host, Len Stacy, and today's MCK Friday. In studio with me is the Grand Chief Joe Norton, and we're talking about Bill 85 and the lands and the court decision for Highway 30 lands. I guess prior to going to break, we were talking about the similarities between the Gunnesadage land issue, and as you were saying that, and that was what my question was going to be, is they lost this in court, and then outside of this, they were looking to commercialize that particular land. Did they know about the court case, or was just they had already had plans, thinking they were going to win the court case? And I'm just
The same people that had brought a lawsuit against the province, but everything is the implications are totally on us 100%.
Okay.
On Kahnawake. The same people that were doing that were the same people who were being called upon to give testimony or evidence or whatever you want to call it for the S85 hearing on the scenery lands. Okay. So everybody knew what was in it. Just, I guess it was fortuitous to us that this case was thrown out of court at this point. Okay. But 85 continues on, and the people who are going to and the point that I have to make, what really bothers me to some degree, is the fact that they didn't consult with us. They didn't ask us about what they were going to do. They've just brought this 85 back up again, and suddenly it's out there, and we found out about it. We weren't called. We weren't
nothing, right?
No, it just luckily someone, and I believe it was Lloyd Phillips who was he got the information that this bill was going to be raised again, and August 15th was when they were going to do it. So they really didn't want us involved. We had to force and push our way into this to say that we're going to make a presentation. Regardless of what happens, we're going there and we're having a press conference. We'll pull an old trick that they usually do, is that before going into a meeting with Native people, they sit down, they have a press conference, they lay out all their position. Then they go in the meeting and they say, okay, this is what we're going to do,
Yeah.
So it kind of works out always in their favor. Well, we're going to do the same thing. It's going to work out in our favor.
Okay. We have a question from one of our listeners.
Yep.
What court will accept a land claim pertaining to individuals?
To individuals?
To individuals. I'm not sure what's meant by the question.
I really don't know.
Are they? And I guess I'm wondering: are they saying we're individuals, or we as a community? Versus, say, the other municipalities. If I had to wage a guess.
I really don't know what the question.
Oh, we'll let it go.
Yeah.
But I guess with this, is it they're just worried about their commercializing, and is it because we were getting close to the other land now that I'm not sure. Like, is that what the other side is looking to do, or they've had this in the plan all the while? I guess that's what I'm not clear on.
Well, there's a bit of suspicion on our part from Kahnawake that there was a conspiracy, we're calling it, between the local member of the National Assembly, Mr. Pierre Moreau, and the MRC. That's the regional organization that represents the municipalities in this area. I think there was something that went on there because it's too it's too like coincidental that all this stuff
Yeah.
seems to happen at the same time, and we believe that he was still is part of a conspiracy to deprive us of the land itself. If not deprive us, then at the very least be overwhelmed by their participation on our territory. Okay, and Moreau, I think, wants to leave a legacy.
Okay.
He did this,
Okay.
he did that, all this kind of stuff in this region over here. So it's for us, it's to our detriment. It's at our expense.
Yeah.
And they just don't care.
Because
So
that's what it seems like. It came out of
Yeah.
nowhere. You win the court case, and then all of a sudden,
Well, I guess they continued to pursue 85 in the background, and they're waiting to see what will happen with the court case. But regardless whether they would have won or whether they lost, didn't matter. They were still going to move ahead, still thinking that they have every right to do what they're trying to do.
Right. So economics over people, I guess, is pretty much. I mean, it's the same thing that happened in Kanesatake.
Definitely,
very much
yeah.
the same thing.
And they got earplugs and blinders, and only can see one thing one way, and that's it. That's all. There's no recognition of a long-standing grievance that we've had over that territory. It's all of a sudden this modern day. Oh well, it's time for us to exercise our right and develop that territory.
Right.
So the battle is on, as far as I'm concerned, and it's gonna end in our favor. I have every confidence in the world it will.
So now, if people wanted to attend and support, what do they have to do in terms of the bus? Can you just show up, or
the bus will be at the council office.
Okay.
As far as I know, we'll be departing at 9 a.m. On Tuesday the 15th, and anybody that wants to jump on board is welcome to come with us. Because we have to show a strength of force, a presence. We won't be alone. I talked to Ghislain Picard, the regional vice chief for the AFNQL. He's organized. He sent out a call to chiefs from across Quebec, asking them, if you have time, please be there, because we in turn have supported them.
Exactly. That
on a
was
lot
going
of
to be my
different
next
issues.
question.
Yeah, we've done a lot to support them by our presence, by being involved in whatever the case may be. Like up in Val d'Or, the issue with the women, we were there, we talked, and we presented our support for what was happening and to move ahead. Also, there's a large indigenous population in Quebec.
Yes.
This information is going, to all of them to come and participate. We'll call him the Grand Chief of that region, Conrad Siwi, the Hurons. He will be there to welcome us and open the press conference, in terms of saying you are in Huron territory, welcome, our Mohawk brothers, or whatever the case may be.
So has there been a call to other First Nations besides Ghislain's?
In Quebec,
In
you mean?
Quebec, yeah.
Yeah, he sent out
Okay, to everybody?
to everybody, yeah.
Our sisters' communities as well?
Yeah, he's notifying everybody that, if you're available,
Yeah.
Of course, it's August 15th,
Yeah.
mid-vacation time, but anyway, we're still going to be there.
Now, in terms of busing, what happens if more than one bus is, will there be accommodating a limit to the bus, or will there be more?
Yeah, well, we have to limit the numbers. And Brandy Malush in our office is the one that you have to contact, to put your name in, to say you're going to. But it shouldn't prevent people from actually driving up too.
That was going to be my next
if
question.
they like to make a weekend of it,
Yeah, like if
make a week,
yeah.
mini vacation kind of thing.
If you're going to go up for the day, people can take their own vehicles. It's not
Yeah.
that far a ride,
No, it isn't, no.
Okay. So once they're there, what would people be doing? Just listening to the press conference and...
Well, like I said earlier on, the bus will be returning at 3.
Okay.
So once the press conference is held, that's going to be at 12:30, I think. And once that's done, then people are free to, go to lunch, because it's close to, there's restaurants, everything there, have lunch and do, and then 3 o'clock the bus leaves to go back.
Okay, and then you'll
come back.
continue your.
Then we
what
stay
you
on
guys do.
until 6:30 in the evening and make our presentation.
Okay. Is there any other elements of the presentation that you're, with our position here in Kahnawake?
At this moment, no. There is some things that have happened though. We had an early breakfast meeting this morning, 7:30 a.m. over at the rail. We met with the member of parliament two members of parliament for this region. One, Brenda Shanahan, and she's from Chateauguay West up to Bournemouth, Valleyfield, and that particular area. And the other one was his last name was Poisson, but I forget I think it's Jean Pierre or something Poisson. He's east of Chateauguay, down into the real heart of where.
Okay.
Where a lot of the issues are.
And
so
how did that go?
It went well. These are two members of parliament, the Liberal Party, and we had originally invited others to attend, but they weren't able to show up. So we had a good round of discussions this morning, explaining them what the circumstances are. They've committed us to meet on Monday in Ottawa.
Oh.
With a much larger group to talk about this whole situation, the circumstance. I mean, we talked about a lot of things, so everything I can't really
no.
get into everything that we discussed, but that movement also is going to our wish is for the federal government to intervene at this time to participate also.
Okay.
Or make a statement or something, or maybe a joint statement can be made between Kahnawake and the federal government, basically saying, or the Prime Minister's office, basically saying, while there's discussions that are taking place over the scenery, 85 should not have any, I don't know if they want to infringe on provincial tows, but, that might be something that would, but in any event, we have our work that we have to do, and we're going to continue. And it was a good meeting. They acknowledged that, it's a tough situation, especially for them, because this is their ridings here.
Exactly.
And that's their voters, electorates, and what have you. The funny thing about it is Shanahan basically said, not everybody in the scenery is in not the scenery, but in the MRC. They call it the MRC, we call it the scenery.
Scenery, yeah.
Not everybody's in favor of Bill 85.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But it may be for reasons that are opposite ours,
Yeah.
Maybe they don't see enough for them in it. I don't know. But apparently she had read 85 and she said, oh my God, I didn't realize, how terrible it is. It's a terrible bill. And if that becomes a reality, then there will be a lot of fights. That may be the thing that'll cause this to be delayed.
So possibly the infighting,
Yeah. So it's that's good. Let them fight internally, because there's a sense that they're going to go ahead and pass it anyway,
right?
Regardless of what anybody says. But then after that, our activities here in Kahnawake kicks in.
Okay.
Now what do we do here in order to show them that?
So I guess it's perfect timing. I have another question from a community member. Now that the court has been settled, how long does it take for the land to return to Kahnawake? So it's perfect.
Yeah, that was part of the meeting that we had this morning. And part of the reason why we're going to Ottawa on Monday is to encourage them, to push them, do it now.
Okay.
Do it as quickly as possible, because there's parcels, A, B, C, D, E.
Okay.
And they say D is the easiest one. A, B, C is a little bit this and that. E is the toughest one because it boundaries right on Chateauguay.
Oh.
And there are issues there. So we said it doesn't matter. We want the whole thing transferred as quickly as possible. I said basically, I don't want to be sitting here a year from now still debating this.
What's the normal timeline though for a land transfer like that?
That can take.
I'm trying to think of the circle over here. It took quite a long time.
Yeah, it can take anywhere from a year to 5 years, depending on the circumstance.
Right.
This one has to be done now.
Yeah.
It has to happen now, and they know the urgency of it happening now. So it's not going to take that long.
So by going to Ottawa, you're pushing for the transfer to go quicker, and you're also lobbying for the federal government to make
become involved in
a
this.
statement.
Make a statement to become involved.
Okay.
But a pro statement for us.
Yeah. Right.
So if nothing else, to say that, well, we're we're having discussions with Kahnawake on that land that basically the Quebec government and the municipalities are going to be, I guess, deciding what's going to happen there,
Yeah.
more or less.
And how long, in terms of bills, how long does that usually take to put through? I know they're just not as quick either, but
I know, but we're looking at the timing of this, the time of year.
yeah.
There's people on vacation.
Yes.
There's nobody around.
Yeah.
So I think they're just trying to push
Push it through without people.
Yeah, without people involved and no opposition or anything like that.
So that's the reason for the quickness in this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very quick. This was,
It is very quick. Sometimes these bills can take, anywhere from a year, maybe longer to have them implemented.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll take a little break and we'll be right back. And welcome back to the Party Line Talk Show. I'm your host, Lance Stacy, and in studio with me is Grand Chief Joe Norton, and today is MCK Friday, and we're talking about Bill 85 and the return of the lands for Highway 30. And I guess prior to going to break, we had had a question regarding the return of the bill of the land and how long that takes, and then this bill, how quickly it could go. I guess one of the questions is what would be the impact on the community should that bill go through?
Well, there'll be a heck of a battle concerning, municipal bylaws and things of the nature that will be attached to it, and even provincial laws, And where Kahnawake lies after that is like almost irrelevant in those terms. So, all the more reason why we have to fight now and start the process that's not their land. They have no right to impose anything. Even similarly with the because we have to divide this between the scenery lands as well as the lands themselves that were confirmed by in the court judgment. In that particular instance, let's not forget there's still a what they call leave to appeal, a time period in which they can appeal the decision.
Oh, okay.
Which I hope they won't. Rather than try to go to their local government and start their discussions with the provincial government on that. And I think that ends in somewhere in mid September. I think it's 45 days they have.
Oh, okay.
In which to appeal. So we're kind of facing that. In the meantime, we said let's move very quickly to make the transfer. Let's get that done immediately, so that there'll be less to argue about because the land has been transferred, so on and so forth. But we were glad to see in the court in the decision of the courts that there's nothing that they can do. There is no application or anything of provincial laws, bylaws, nothing on those lands, and that we're free and clear. They become the same status as the reserve lands right now.
Okay.
And that's the whole situation that we wanted to make clear. And we got to move quickly. All parties have to move quickly to make sure that happens. So we don't find ourselves, continuously battling some sort of somebody coming up with another issue, to make life miserable for us.
Because it seemed like it was going along. I mean, it took long. It took long for one thing. And it seems we're at the end and this land's going to come in and then bang,
Yep.
It's like, and then we'll start that all back over,
And similarly with Bill 85 and the scenery lands, we have to battle for that in terms of preserving our rights and our interests in those territories. We're not against any kind of regional development. Okay,
No,
let's
no.
be clear. I mean, one of the best policies is to work with your neighbors,
Right.
which we've tried to do all along. I mean, I'm not putting it on the same scale as the United States and Canada,
Right.
but you got Trump now banging the table, NAFTA and all those kinds of things, wants to change the relationship. But, Canada and the U.S. are our neighbors, they're partners and all kinds of different things. Well, similarly, our neighbors around us, we can become good partners, which we've offered before,
Oh,
which
that
we've
has been.
suggested.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, many, many times.
Okay.
So this is nothing new. And for them to be there scratching their heads saying, oh, we've never been consulted, it's a blatant lie.
Right.
30 years ago, we made moves, when we were talking about the return of lands to Kahnawake, the scenery.
Yeah.
We went out, we met with all the municipalities around us. Before they had an MRC, we sat down with them, we talked to them, we explained to them the realities, and also, well, maybe it's not such a bad thing to be living in Mohawk territory, is what we said to them, And unfortunately, times changed. All those people that were there before are gone. So you got to start a whole new set of discussions with people who are just getting on board, And in this morning's discussion with Shanahan and Poisson, they were like, they said, oh, maybe it's not such a bad idea to live in Mohawk territory, kind of thing. And I said, yeah, because there's a lot of advantages. There's a lot of things that we can do that the MRC can't
Yeah.
do. And if they start thinking that way,
Right.
as good neighbors, then don't look at us as enemies. Don't look at us as obstructionists. And so what if we sell some alcohol? So what if we sell some cigarettes, So what if we're able to get away with selling gasoline cheaper than anybody else?
Yeah.
So what? It's not a big deal. And we're contributors. We spend $65 million a year.
That was going to be my
Yeah.
next thing, right?
Yeah, I said, and we have over 1,000 people that come into Kahnawake every day to earn a living here.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of them come from Chattagee.
And we're contributing
Yeah.
all the way around
And
already.
they pay their taxes over there.
Yeah.
They vote over there, in municipal elections, provincial elections, federal elections. So we contribute. So don't look at us as if we're taking.
So that little bit of money that we are making through business and economic development is not even comparable to what we're giving out to any of the local
No, it
municipalities.
doesn't make any.
It's not like a drop
And we
in
can
the bucket,
and we can
right?
do more.
Yeah.
We can do much more if we have the cooperation of all three levels of government, to work with us. In this day and age, you have to have that. You can't always do everything on your own.
Has it been a change because of the change of people in power in the province and at the federal level?
No, I think this is still, part of it is, yes, it's that, but part of it is a spillover from 1990.
Okay.
That has
was-
not gone away.
Okay.
That's still there. And it's on both sides. It's on our side too, as well as on their side. We still harbor that anger. I mean, the mayoress of Chattagee, from what I recall and understand, she was a reporter back then, and she was attacking us continuously at that
Okay.
time. So that's still her mentality. It's not changed. Despite what somebody else may say, despite what she may say, it's still there. It's still in her,
So
as
that-
well as others.
So that's probably fueling this push for this bill.
I believe it is.
Okay. Now it
Very much
starts to
so.
make more sense.
Yes.
It starts to make more sense, that they'll push for it.
Yeah.
And again, economic development that we will not be the benefactors of.
I can understand people wanting to have a better life, economically, employment and all that, and a lifestyle. But if it's fueled by prejudice, anger, whatever, hate, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's very, very bad. They'll do anything at any lengths to create this situation. I might sound like I'm spewing, that kind of thing, but at the same time, that's the reality.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why I'm asking the question, in terms of the province and in terms of their government, and their relationship with our community,
Yeah.
Kahnawake, does that make a difference? And it's changed in the years, right?
Mind you can't paint Chattagee with one brush.
No.
There's many good people there. During 1990, they helped our people a lot. But there's still a spillover from that. There's still a hangover from those
Yes.
days, I
Yeah.
believe. And it's not just Chattagee, it's in the surrounding
Yeah,
area.
that's what I was going to say, the other communities
Yeah.
as well. Because, some places you go, you get treated very well, and then there's some other places where,
Yeah.
they find out you're from Kahnawake and their eyes roll, or,
Yeah.
we're not taking your tax card, et cetera, or status card, I should say.
Or they'll accept Miganat cards. Rather.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that's why, it seems really, really funny, and it's very difficult for us,
Yeah.
So I guess, is that it on this topic? And is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, it's just that I want people to understand that, we're taking the lead in this. We're controlling the agenda. Never mind what their National Assembly does, and whether the federal government is on board or not. They know darn well that we can do things here that will cause them a lot of discomfort, and I don't have to spell that out.
No. And I'm pretty sure the community will lobby around this for sure.
Definitely.
Have you been in contact with the traditional people of the community too?
We've sent them all the stuff, all the information, all the material. They have it now, and we hope that they step forward and and participate along with us.
Will this be the only thing that's going to happen, or this will be the start of it? And
we need to see what the reaction will be, but we're going to keep the pressure up.
Okay,
that's for sure.
Yes.
We have to keep the pressure up, but we're gonna see after the 15th, in the next few days after that, what the reaction will be.
Yeah.
Especially with the press conferences and the information going out in the because Global News is going to be there, APTN is going to be there. There's a number of major media outlets that are going there. They want to know what's going on. They want to know what's happening. So they're gonna move this along too.
Yeah.
And they'll put pressure on the government to start asking them questions directly.
Because it's interesting too when you look at what's happening in Caledonia. The same kind of thing there. So I guess First Nations people are starting to step up a little bit more. Before we would wait and see. Now it's let's just get out there and do something.
And as we mentioned earlier on, like Bill 85 came out of nowhere in a sense because it had been dormant since it was first announced way back when. Is it coincidental that it happens during this time period? Figuring that there'll be they'll easily slip it through and
that's usually how governments work. Yeah. When bills are passed or different legislations they want, usually time when most people aren't available, right? When it's something they know that will be controversial, I should clarify. Anything else then on this?
No, I don't think so, but just keep your eyes and your ears open because there's plenty more to come.
Okay. So I guess maybe just a couple of other updates and, the border crossing. Maybe just a little update on that one.
Well, since the last time I made, I gave a report, which is about a month ago, and that was after a meeting in Niagara Falls. There's not been too much happening. Again, it's I guess it's summer, but next week or in 2 weeks, there's a meeting coming up in Minnesota. Why Minnesota? I don't know.
It's the hub of the United States, I guess. No, just kidding.
The Akwesasne Tribal Council on the American side, New York State, they're one of the ones that are sponsoring it. And it's not a criticism. I'm just wondering why, because they've not been involved in any of the discussions that have been happening on the Canadian side. And, in my estimation, they should be, because it's important to show that, we've got Mohawks on both sides, as well as here. It's the same thing, too.
Yeah.
So in Minnesota, I haven't seen the agenda yet so far, but they're the local tribe in the area. I don't know. I think they're maybe not Chippewas. What would they be? In any event, they're also sponsoring this gathering in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region, and that's in 2 weeks. It's on a Sunday and a Monday, 21st, I believe.
Okay.
So that's it. I would imagine it's got a lot of relevance to what's happening in Canada. So I spoke to recently to Mike Mitchell, who's sort of the coordinator for the AFN on this file, and he's basically said it's ongoing, and there's a lot of little meetings that have been taking place. I'm waiting to hear from my fellow chiefs. There's a chiefs committee which I'm sitting on.
Okay. Yes.
and we're looking to meet with federal officials as well as officials from the U.S. in the next little while. So that's about what the extent.
Has anything happened with the people from the Longhouse and that? Because they've been working on this border thing as well. So
yes, as far as I know, there's been some movement. There's been some activity.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what it is. So we have to work together on this.
Yeah, because it makes sense, when they come on the show as well, they will bring things that are happening at, different places.
Yeah.
So it makes sense in my mind. So I had to ask if it was something that people were, working on together. I guess another topic would be the opening of the splash park. Let's go a little bit lighter. A little lighter on the topic, the splash park. The opening of the splash park has really been a big hit in the community.
Yes, it has, and we have to thank the people who stepped up to the plate and donated.
A real community effort, I would say.
Real
right?
community effort in making this work. It's been a couple of years now since there's been requests by community members. When you're going to have a splash park, we see it in Chateauguay, we see it. Don't be surprised if there's another request to have another one somewhere in the community.
Well, I know the people down the new development area have been complaining there's nothing out that way. Everything's in the...
We have to acknowledge that, and sure, it's not a question.
Because we're getting bigger and, more and more people. And
we're spread out wide.
And that's the new mortgage lane out that way, It's like every year being a kid, different areas of town where the new development places. So.
And I won't go out on a limb, but I will say we're ready to accommodate.
And I think it was a good thing, and many people using it, very positive feedback. Another thing, maybe the AFN General Assembly Supreme Court decision, maybe a little bit of update on that one.
Which one are we talking about?
I'm not sure which one. I have a note for it. Which one? Yeah, the AFN, with the AFN, there was a Supreme Court decision, sorry, my mistake, on the duty to consult. That was one topic I was told there was an update. Oh, well, my
you caught me off guard on that one.
My informant, that's it. He's fired. No, just kidding.
Oh, but there is an AFN assembly that's coming up in December.
Okay.
In Ottawa, So, and there's I just had something in mind that,
go ahead.
I forgot. No, I forgot now. You get at that age when a lot of things slip your mind.
No, just trying to think of something.
Oh, the upcoming picnic in the park.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, the 24th of August. As we did last year, I forget what date it was, but I think it was at the same time of the year. We had the picnic in the park, and that was over at the Maddie's Park.
Yeah.
This year it's going to be adjacent to this splash pad. The same thing as last year. There'll be food. There'll be council members will be present to talk to anybody and everybody about a variety of things. It's not just there to say it's going to be sort of a social event, but at the same time, you want to
if
talk. If
people have questions,
people questions, whether you do it separately by yourself or whether
a group of people.
A group of people that want to. So it's another event that's coming up. We're looking forward to that, and preparing.
And there's an opportunity for people who have questions to ask, right?
And we want to make it an annual event. Second year, we want to improve on it every year as we go along,
Yeah, it sounds like a good thing to get out of the council offices and get to meet the people.
Community meetings, September 9th, I believe. There is one coming up, though, in September because we canceled...
The one in August.
In August. So there will be one on the 9th, I think, 12th, on the 12th.
Okay.
September 12th.
Lots going on then.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe the last thing we could do is remind the people, our hour went very quickly as it always does, to remind people about Tuesday and if, what they could do. If anyone's interested in getting on the bus, they need to call Brandy Malush at the MCK before Monday on the 14th noon at 450-632-7500, or they can contact her at brandymalush@mck.ca for the purposes of supporting getting back. Maybe just one more time on it, and I guess pretty much that's it.
The 15th, August 15th.
At
Travel
9.
to Quebec City, 9 a.m. Return at 3 p.m.
Okay. So
Okay.
thank you for coming in. I know you're a very busy man. Thank you and good luck on Tuesday. I'm sure it's going to be quite an interesting thing. Next week for the Party Line Talk Show, I guess some of the highlights will be the GPS food mapping project. Gariwa Norton Step by Step will be in, Collective Impact, and Gahadogu Garden Show. It's, again, a very busy week. Have a good weekend, everybody. And up next with the 1 o'clock news is Gahawisu Horn. Have a good day, everybody. Onigiwahi.